Hello everyone. My name is Ms. Kesaobakaraleya. I'm standing here to help you with English First Additional Language. I'm going to be treating language aspects, also known as language structures and conventions. The topics we're going to be looking at today are just 6 for now, but please note that there will be a follow-up lesson that continues the language structures and conventions. We will be looking at different aspects, parts of speech, and with parts of speech, we're going to be looking at the 9 parts of speech. Some sources don't actually include the last part of speech, which is interjections, but we will be including that in this particular lesson. We will also be looking at parts of words. Parts of words are basically the stem word, the root, as well as their affixes, these root affixes. We call the affixes prefixes, and we also call them suffixes. We will also look at concord. We call concord verb, subject, agreement. We will also look at modals. Modals are sometimes called modal verbs or even modal auxiliaries. Last but not least for today, we will be looking at conditional sentences. And we will be looking at the 3 types of conditional sentences and their expressions. I want to start off by making you see a proverb that I live by, especially for my learners and your learners out there, educators. This proverb states that teachers open the door, but a learner must take it upon themselves to enter that door. So I am going to today open that door for you. Are you ready to enter? It is your choice. We will not necessarily go into critical language awareness today. However, I want you to know that it is important for you to have good knowledge of language. You need to be able to know how to use it. You need to be able to know how it works. You need to be able to learn it. And especially, you need to be able to teach it. We are going straight into parts of speech. Parts of speech are the building blocks of grammar. Without parts of speech, sentences wouldn't make sense to us. So there are 9 parts of speech in the English language. So every time when you write a word or you speak a word in a sentence, please know that this word falls into a particular function. So it is a part of speech. Learners, please make sure that during exam time, do not confuse questions about parts of speech with questions on indirect speech or reported speech, as well as questions on, let's say, figures of speech. These are totally different aspects. Parts of speech, we have 9. I apologize, we only have 8 here, because you can see with my puzzle piece, the pronoun piece is missing. So our parts of speech are noun, pronoun, verb, adverb, adjective, conjunction, preposition, article, as well as interjections. We will start off with nouns. Please note that a noun is a name. You have a name. Everything around us has a name. We would not be able to speak of or refer to things had they not be given a name. So we've got different types of nouns. However, please don't be worried that you will be asked in the exam to identify a specific type. As long as you know that the noun is a name, what is important is it a name of a person? Is it a name of a place? Is it a name of a thing or an idea? So we have got different types of nouns in the English language. The main noun is the concrete noun. If something is concrete, it means that you can perceive it with your five senses. Within concrete nouns, there are proper nouns as well as common nouns. Now, what are proper nouns? Proper nouns are specific names. So if, for example, your name is Elkin, we need to always refer to you when we write that word with an initial capital letter. So names of people, names of places like Mauritius, names of days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, names of months, January, April, even subjects, we must always write them with the initial capital letter. Please note that with common nouns, because they are not as specific as proper nouns, these are names we also give to people, certain people. We give names to places or things and ideas. Examples are, in a person, for example, a common noun would be mother, father, widow. And then we've got names like table, book, bag, dog. These are common nouns. We also have what we call abstract nouns. Abstract nouns are those nouns that we cannot perceive with our five senses. Nouns such as love, nouns such as courage, freedom, joy, fiction. These are our abstract nouns. We cannot see them, we cannot touch them, we cannot measure them. And then we have countable as well as uncountable nouns. Countable nouns can be counted. Please note that they come in singular as well as plural form. So a countable noun would be, for example, a pen. And as a regular form in plural, you would say pen, pens. But an irregular form of a noun in plural would be some example like a man, which changes into men, or child, which changes into children. Uncountable nouns are those that cannot be counted. These are substances that we cannot actually hold and separate and count. They cannot be counted. Substances such as money, milk, rice, water. We cannot say one waters, two waters, or something like that. We cannot also say, snow, snows. No, that would not be correct. Please note that we also have compound nouns. Compound nouns are those nouns that are made up of two or more words within them. For example, boy, friend. It is a compound noun because it has two separate words which can be created or used as a noun on its own. Fruit, juice. Mother-in-law. That is a compound noun. We also have collective nouns. Collective nouns basically refer to group of things. So if you are a whole number of learners in a classroom, we call you a class. If there are a whole lot of people in one place, we call it a crowd. If you're holding many flowers at the same time, we call it a bouquet, or maybe a bunch. We've also got flock, and we even have family. We will move now to pronouns. Please note that the name pronoun has two parts. The pro, which means on behalf of, and the noun, which is a name. So a pronoun means a word which we use on behalf of a name. We use pronouns to avoid repetitiveness in a sentence. So I may say, John is a man. John is a football player. John likes to go out. Instead of repeating the noun John so many times because it becomes redundant, we would rather say, John is a man, he likes to play soccer, and he likes going to the movies. We replace that with what we call a pronoun. There are different types of pronouns. Personal pronoun, reflective, reflexive, possessive. They come in different persons. The first person, I, is a personal pronoun. And then we have a second person, you, which is also a pronoun. And we have third person, which can come as he or she. These are some of the pronouns that you can find in the English language. Mine is possessive. Yours is possessive. We also have yourself, myself. Please note that reflexive pronouns are written as one word, even though they are compound words. We go straight to adjectives. Adjectives are those words that tell us more about a noun. We cannot make or write exciting pieces, especially when you are writing essays or transactional pieces, without using adjectives as well as adverbs. They add excitement, they add intrigue in our writing. So for example, an ordinary person like a girl, if you just say a girl walked through the door, it doesn't sound intriguing or exciting. We want to know which girl, what type of girl, who, where. Okay, so we want to modify the noun. So for example, you want to say an intelligent girl, or a beautiful girl, or a slender girl. These words, they tell us more information about that particular girl. Sometimes adjectives follow the word that they modify. So we don't actually always have the adjective in front of the verb. Not the verb, I apologize. The adjective in front of the noun. No, we sometimes have the cup is full. Full is an adjective. It comes right at the end of the sentence, but it modifies the cup. We have different types of adjectives, but we will leave that for another lesson. Please note that we can go now straight to adverbs. Adverbs, these are words that modify verbs. They give us more information on the verb itself. They modify adjectives, they modify verbs, they even modify adverbs themselves. They bring a tone into the entire sentence. There are different types of adverbs. Please note in your classes you may only have been told of 3, but there's actually quite a few more. We've got adverb of manner. This tells us how something happened. We have an adverb of a place. This tells us where something happened. We have an adverb of time. This tells us when something happened. We also have an adverb of frequency, how often it takes place. An adverb of degree, it tells us to what extent it took place. We also have an adverb of frequency. I am not sure if I just repeated myself there, but we also have an adverb of probability. Is it possible, or perhaps, or maybe it didn't happen? These are some of the examples of adverbs. How much, how often, when, where, and how something took place. We go straight to prepositions. If you look at this word cloud, you will see that most of the words within here are telling us of some sort of a position. Through, along, to, up, down. These are very important for you to understand prepositions. Prepositions are wonderful words. They relate to a subject to another, or to an object. So we know a position of something. Here are some common prepositions. About, among, between, for. Please note that we have different types of prepositions. We have a preposition that tells us exactly movement of something. They tell us about direction. So you will say that the river flowed along the bank. We may also have direction, through, up, down. We also have prepositions that basically tell us of a place. Where is something? It is on the table. Okay. We go to the next part of speech, conjunction. As you can see, with conjunctions, it is about joining words. So if you have a conjunction in a sentence, you will have one clause which is joined together with another. So we join words together, we join phrases, we join clauses, and there are three types of conjunctions: coordinating conjunctions, subordinating, and correlative. We will look more into those. Please note that coordinating conjunctions are those conjunctions that we call fanboys. We call them fanboys because they are made up of for, and, neither, or, so, yet. Oh, I forgot but. And then we have those which are called subordinating conjunctions. They connect the dependent clause to the rest of the sentence. These are conjunctions like after, although, as, because, as you can see on your TV. Lastly, we have correlative conjunctions. These join sentences or parts that should be treated as equal. Words like but, also, either, or, not only, both, and. Here, let us look at some of the example sentences for coordinating conjunctions. We listened eagerly. This is a different clause. For, we add more information. We join together two separate clauses. He brought news of our family. We can look at an example of a subordinating conjunction. These are two separate clauses. As soon as I saw her, if we look at as soon as, I knew there was something wrong. By the time, I thought you would be done by this time. We have also a correlating example. Please ensure that when you do correlative conjunctions, especially when it comes to neither, nor, and as well as either, or, please ensure that you go or you apply the Concord rule. Do not forget that your subject is plural or if it is singular. Let us look at the either or example. I can have either cola or tea. You may also say, no sooner than we had gone to bed than the phone rang. We are going now very quickly into interjections. If you look at this, the emotions on these pupils on our screen, you will see that they are showing with their faces how they are feeling. Interjections are those words that show us emotion or sentiment. They are not necessarily, they don't necessarily add value in our language. However, we use them just to bring understanding of how we feel inside. So what is an interjection? An interjection, honestly, is a big word. The word interjection itself is so big. However, it is a big word for a small word. We always say, ouch, when we're feeling pain. We say, oh, when we're surprised. What's important is that if you are going to use interjections in your writing, make sure that when you write that interjection, it is always followed by an exclamation mark. You may have 2 exclamation marks in your statement where you say, hey, like here, get off that floor. Or good, exclamation. Now we can move on. One more rule you have to remember is that after that particular exclamation mark, you need to have a capital letter. Now we go to articles. Please note that articles are an example of a determiner. They make us aware, or they point to us exactly what you are talking about. So there are indefinite articles as well as definite articles. There are 3 indefinite articles: a, an, and some. We use some for plurals. But please remember these rules. If you are going to use an indefinite article a, please note that you can only use it when it is followed by a consonant sound. A man. You cannot say something like apple. Apple begins with a vowel sound. So be careful that you use them correctly. However, with n may be followed by a vowel sound. You will notice that some of the words in the English language may have a particular sound, but are spelled with a certain either vowel or consonant. For example, university is spelled with a vowel, U. However, we cannot say N, university, like we say N, orange. We say a university because the U sounds like a vowel Y. Same goes with an hour. We cannot say a hour, all because the word hour begins with a vowel sound, O. There is only one definite article, there. There is definite because it specifies exactly who it's talking about or who it's referring to. We went to the best restaurant. The dog is barking loudly. Let's go to verbs. Verbs are just as important as the building blocks of grammar. In fact, without a verb, full thoughts cannot be properly conveyed. Verbs are what we call doing words. We cannot explain how something happened if we don't explain the action that was taken by a particular subject or noun. We need to convey exactly how the action took place and who did the action. So simple sentences like Maria sings. It is a very short sentence, but it would not make sense if it did not have the word sings, which is a verb. It would be incomplete. Many verbs are actually used as complete sentences themselves, like sing, drive. You don't need to have a subject or an object to know what somebody is saying. There are different types of verbs. Regular verbs, as well as irregular verbs. What are regular verbs? Regular verbs are those verbs that when you take them into the past or use their past participle, you add the affix ed at the end. So walk becomes walked, and the past participle will be walked still. So you see that they have ed at the end to form the past. different with irregular verbs. Irregular verbs form their past and past participles in a different way. We've got three forms. One, where you have the same word showing 3 times, like put. You cannot say puted. Please avoid that. You cannot even say cutted. So it has to have the same form, even the past and even in the past participle. Put. And then we've got those irregular forms where we have only 2 parts that are similar, like sit. Sit, sat, sat. So the third one is where all of them are different. This is still irregular. Drink, drank, drunk. We have more examples here. In the present, we say eat. In the past tense, we say ate. And the past participle of eat is eaten. Here are some example questions where you can practice. Identify the following part of speech. This is an example of how sentences may come in your exam. You will have a sentence and the examiner will underline certain words and expect you to know the different parts of speech. For example, I'm a mastermind at this. Sometimes Mary doesn't listen to me. Tembi has a lovely voice. My brother is taller than my sister. Certain words have been underlined, and if we look at the responses, here they are. At is an article and a preposition. Marry and listen, a noun and a verb. Lovely is an adjective, and my is a pronoun. We will not do all of them. Let's look at this. We call these parts of words. What is a part of word? A part of word is basically a group of words which are made up of either a root and its affix. So we've got a root, which is the stem word. It is the main word. And if we can change the meaning of that root word by adding affixes. An affix can come in the form of a prefix or a suffix. And a prefix, if we put them all together, a root is the main word, the stem word, and the prefix, you see it at the beginning, and a suffix at the end. So, for example, in this word, supernatural, nature is the main word or the root word. Super is the prefix, ral, al, is the suffix. This changes the word. Many times you will see that you may have one word, one root, for example, interest. However, if we put different affixes, the word interest changes meaning totally. So you may have interested or disinterested or uninterested. Another example is prove. Prove can be improvement, it can be improve itself, and you can come up with many other ways of changing that word. Here are some meanings. Re means again. An example is rewrite. You also have none, which means not. So nonsense means there is no sense. We have suffixes. Able suggests that it can be done. Full means full of. So respectful would mean full of respect. Let us look at some of an activity on Miss Potts. It says, read the story, use the word bank to fill in the missing words. Our teacher is very, we don't just get tests, we get. If anyone in class doesn't understand a lesson, the whole class has to it. If we, about a mark she has given us, she's very, I think that to be so grouchy, Miss Potts must be very, some people say that she is outside the classroom, but I find that, now these are your word banks, your word bank. You have to fill in this close passage with these words. So if we had to respond to it, and I hope you are responding to it as well, it would look like this. Our teacher is very disagreeable. We don't just get tests, we get pre-tests. If anyone in class doesn't understand a lesson, the whole class has to review it. If we disagree about a mark she's given, she is very unapproachable. I think that to be so grouchy, Miss Potts must be very unhappy. Some people, they say that she's cheerful outside the classroom, but I find that doubtful. Let us go to another example. You may be given this kind of an example question in your exam. Give the antonym of the following. These are still root words, but then if you give an antonym, it changes the word totally. Change the following word into an adjective, peace. Rewrite the following word as an adverb, abrupt. Rewrite the following word as a noun, beautiful. And these are some of the responses. We didn't do the first one. Identify the root word of the following, misunderstanding. You will see that within misunderstanding, there is a prefix as well as a suffix. So miss is a prefix, ing is a suffix. So understand is our root word. And the antonym, which is an opposite in meaning of fortunate, would have a prefix un, unfortunate. Change the following into an adjective. Remember, adjectives will have that ul at the end, peaceful, and the last two, abruptly, would be an adverb, and a noun would be beauty. Let us look at verb tenses. There are three types of tenses: the past, the present, and the future. Now please note that tenses come as main verbs or as auxiliary verbs. So when we are talking about time, this is a tense. We need to know when is something happening. We also need to know aspect. How the reader or the person who's doing the action, how they are perceiving that action to be taking place. So it may be continuous, it may be perfect, it may be simple. The past is used to explain something that's already happened, and the present is used to describe something that is happening. Obviously, the future will have to add the word will for it to be a future tense. These are some of the examples, forms, and tenses that we come across. Our aspects are simple, continuous, perfect, and perfect continuous. And our time is past, present, and future. So in the simple past, you say you ate. In the simple present, you say you eat. And in the future, you will eat. I'm sure after that, you can do some of these. I will go through it a bit quick. My parents never been to China would change into my parents have never been to China. Let us look at modal verbs. What are modals? Modals are part of verbs, but they are also called modal verbs or auxiliary verbs. And they are special verbs which work hand in hand with the main verb. The different types of modals are can, could, must, have to, should, would, will, as well as shall. And they also come in the past tense. And we have different types of modals, okay? We have a modal of ability, a modal of permission, a modal of advice, a modal of obligation, as well as a modal of possibility. And these are your modals. A modal of ability means that you are able to do something. David can speak 3 languages. That's a modal of ability. Then we have a modal of permission. May I please go to the toilet, you could say. And advice, you should lose weight. Obligation, you must memorize all these rules. And possibility, I may go to the shops after this. We have auxiliary verbs, which are called helping verbs. They are just like modals. They work hand in hand with modals. And the different types are these ones. We use auxiliaries to help the verb do its work or its action in the sentence. Normally, we use modals for different vocabulary concepts such as concord, verb tenses, question tags, passive voice, negative sentences. Let us look at conditional sentences. There are three types of conditional sentences in the English language. The first one, it is the zero conditional. There are actually four. The zero conditional, the first conditional, as well as the third conditional. The zero conditional is a sentence that basically talks about laws of nature or facts. So if something happens, definitely an existing result will occur. For example, if you freeze water, yes, it will turn into ice. If you heat water, it will boil. If you touch a heated surface, you will burn. This is a fact. Then we have the first conditional. First conditional talks about a possibility in the present tense, which means that it can happen. If it rains, I will stay at home. So it is something that is possible, could happen if you find the situation. If I find your email, I will send you the picture. And then we've got the second conditional. It is an imaginary situation. So it is sometimes an impossibility. For example, sometimes when I look at someone and I envy them, I will say, if I were you, I would also drive a Mercedes. But because I'm not you, it's an impossibility. It can't happen. So this is what a second conditional is. Let's look at some of the example. If I were the president, I would lower taxes. Now, can you be the president right now? No. So it is something that is hypothetical. Okay, and the last one, third conditionals. It is an imaginary situation, also an impossibility because it already happened in the past tense. If I had met Susan last week and you didn't, that is why it's an impossibility. I would have given her the book. So you didn't give her the book because it happened in the past. You cannot go back in the past and give Susan the book. So this is our third conditional. Lastly, we have concord. We call concord subject-verb agreement. Normally, when we speak in English, our subject as well as our verb must agree. So I cannot come to you and say, I loves you. It doesn't make sense. I'm supposed to say, I love you. So I check my subject, is it in singular or is it in plural? Therefore, it has to agree with the verb. We have an example here. We have one bird and we have two birds. One means that the subject is singular. Singular means one and plural means two. So you cannot say the bird sing. You need to say the bird, which is one, sings, which is also one. A plural subject takes a plural verb. The birds sing. Okay, it's a simple example. Here are many concord rules that you must always apply. The first one, if you have a singular subject, which we just did now, you must have a singular verb. So the computer, which is a singular subject, is, which is a modal or an auxiliary singular verb, advanced. Plural subjects take plural verbs. These computers, which is plural subject. Are, which is a plural verb, advanced. We also have compound subjects. Compound basically means that two or more subjects are in one sentence. The secretary and the treasurer, that is a compound subject. They have to take a plural verb. They are responsible for the presentation. And then we've got plural subjects joined by either or. Either the doctors or the nurses are coming in today. We may also have singular subjects and singular verbs joined by either or. Either the secretary or the clerk was paid today. Now please realize that with either or as well as neither nor, the rule of proximity has to work here. So if a subject, for example, has one plural and one singular, the subject that is closest to the verb is the one that changes the verb to be plural or to be singular. I will give you an example. Neither the teacher, which is a singular subject, nor the learner, which is another singular subject. What do we do now? We say is, because there's a singular subject next to the verb. But then we have neither the teacher, which is a singular subject, nor the learners, which is a plural subject. The next word that comes has to agree with the closest subject. So we will say are happy and not is happy, even though we started with a singular subject. So neither the teachers nor the learner is happy, because the learner is a singular verb, subject closest to the verb is. More rules. Singular pronoun subject equals singular verb. Everybody, this is an indefinite pronoun. Everybody, each, everyone, all these words, they take up a singular verb. Each is, everybody is. So we need to make sure that it agrees with a singular verb when it comes to pronoun subjects. The last two, singular or plural pronoun equals singular or plural verb. The letter to the editor is ready. If you look at this sentence, you will see that the letter is the one that we are referring to as our main subject. The editors is not who we are talking about. This is the object, because the letter is our subject. The letter is ready. The papers is plural subject. Therefore, we say are cleaner than the ones on the floor. And then we've got singular pronoun subject, which we've done already. All the E pronouns are usually followed by a singular verb. Everybody in our department donates to the needy. Each of the executive wants his or her own office. And then we have those subjects that require singular verbs, especially those that talk about numbers or amounts. Little is known. 1 plus 1 is 2. We can also say 1 plus 5 is 7. Just because you said 5 and 5 is a large number doesn't mean that you must change the verb to be plural. There's another example. A is an indefinite number. Therefore, it can be a lot of people. So we say a number of people are, because a is an indefinite article. But then we say the, because it is specific, the number is specific. We say it as a singular verb. Say the number of people is not specified. Okay, so when it comes to collective nouns, please always remember a collective noun must have a singular verb. And then we have those sentences that starts with there or here. There is only one mistake. Here is where the story ends. We always use singular verbs for sentences that start with expletives. And then we have subject versus predicate noun. The best part of the seminar is the speeches. You will realize that the last statement is a plural predicate noun, the speeches. Therefore, we cannot say are. We concentrate on the singular subject. The best part is the speeches. Okay, we have a test yourself activity. You will be given an activity like this in your exam where you need to choose the correct form of verb. 7 plus 10, do you think we have to say is 17 or 7 plus 10 are 17? If you've been listening to me, you will realize that 7 plus 10 is, even though 10 is a bigger number than 7. Here lies, remember, here is an expletive, therefore it is always followed by a singular verb. Here lies. A swarm of bees, it is a collective. It is always written with a singular, a verb. And then, which means that you say protects. Now, either Franz or his friends. Because friends is right next to the verb, it means that its proximity determines the verb run. The snow, which, remember I told you that snow is a substance we cannot count. So we regard it as a singular subject, which is followed by a singular verb. Here are some more sentence examples. Everyone in the cast, the jury, the news, neither the boy nor his father, mother as well as my sister. I hope you got these correct. At the end, I just want to say to you, Brian Herbert has inspired me a lot as a child in coming along and learning and eventually being a teacher. He says the capacity to learn is a gift. If you are able to learn, you are gifted. The ability to learn is a skill. And the willingness to learn, unfortunately, is a choice. So make the right choice. Thank you.